You live in an ocean of thin, weightless air, but your inner ear, where hearing actually happens, is completely submerged in dense, heavy fluid. In physics, this creates an impedance mismatch. When airborne sound waves crash into a liquid environment, the fluid's density acts like a brick wall. 99.9% of the acoustic energy will simply bounce right off. This graph maps that loss, showing a 30 decibel cliff drop in sound pressure at the point of impact. Without a way to cross that barrier, the world would be virtually silent. Human hearing relies on a multi-stage energy transducer, a system designed specifically to bridge this density gap between the air outside and the fluid within. The journey across that gap begins before the sound even enters your head, starting at the outer ear. The asymmetrical ridges of cartilage on the outside of your ear are called the pinna. As sound waves strike these folds, they fracture into multiple staggered reflections. These microdelays provide the directional code your brain uses to calculate whether a noise is above, below, or behind you. Those encoded waves are then funneled into the ear canal. This 2.5 centimeter tunnel behaves like a closed organ pipe, catching the incoming air and forcing it to resonate. This chart maps the response inside that canal, showing a massive spike at 3,000 Hz. The physical length of the canal naturally amplifies this specific frequency range by 10 to 15 decibels. This specialized resonance makes us highly attuned to the frequencies of human speech. However, it also leaves us vulnerable to permanent hearing damage from loud, modern noises operating in that exact same band. At the end of the canal, the acoustic wave slams into the eardrum, converting fluctuating pressure into mechanical motion. Overcoming the fluid barrier requires a massive increase in pressure, achieved through the area ratio. The eardrum covers roughly 80 square millimeters, but it is tethered to a secondary membrane, the oval window, that is a mere 3 square millimeters. That creates a 27-to-1 difference in surface area. This concentrates the kinetic force gathered across the broad eardrum down into a microscopic point, significantly increasing the pressure at the impact site. Spanning the gap between these two membranes are the ossicles, the malleus, incus, and stapes. These three tiny bones interlock to form a precision lever that steps down the movement of the eardrum to multiply the torque. When you combine the pressure concentration of the area ratio with the leverage of the bones, the original force of the sound wave is amplified between 35 and 80 times. The weightless flutter of the atmosphere has been condensed into a heavy mechanical piston, engineered to breach the dense fluid barrier of the inner ear. As the stapes bone punches into the oval window, that concentrated mechanical force is injected into the cochlea. The strike converts the vibration into a hydraulic wave surging through dense liquid. The suspended basilar membrane physically sorts and untangles complex noise into clean pitches. Through place coding, fast, high-frequency waves vibrate the stiff, narrow base, while long, low-frequency bass waves wash to the far end, vibrating the loose, wide apex. The cochlea acts as a microscopic prism, physically fracturing the chaotic noise of the outside world into an organized spectrum of individual wavelengths. At the cellular level, the rippling membrane sweeps over thousands of microscopic sensory receptors called stereocilia. These tiny hairs sway in the fluid current. As the hairs bend, they pull open tiny ion channels, releasing a burst of electrical neural spikes straight into the brain's auditory cortex. From the shifting of air to the leverage of bone, to a hydraulic surge, and finally an electrical spark. This sequence happens in a fraction of a millisecond. Every piece of music and every whispered conversation is possible because our biology runs this instantaneous relay race, translating atmospheric pressure into the electrical soundtrack of our consciousness.